welcome back to the AwardsWatch Podcast, brought to you by AwardsWatch.com. I am your executive editor, Ryan McQuade, and this is episode 148. And joining me today is the one and only Erik Anderson. Hi, Erik.
Hello.
And we have Josh Parham.
Hello.
And last but not least, Nicole Ackman.
Did I have to go last because I'm the only girl?
It's just the way it was on the Zoom. You were the last one in on the Zoom.
I think we know Ryan, and the answer is yes.
God damn it. No, we're not going to continue that. The hospital didn't change me at all, evidently. No, you were just the last person in, and that's the way it was in the order.
I just had to check.
God, damn it.
It was age before beauty, Nicole.
Fair enough.
I didn't make that joke, by the way, listeners. So don't get any complaints out there, or don't want to tweet anything about any jokes that I make or whatnot. Which, by the way,
it's not like Ryan doesn't harass me every single day via text about my age. So
it's not like he doesn't harass me about being Latino. You know what I mean, and all the other stuff that he says. If he doesn't, it's just the truth, you know.
Oh,
telling me I got to clean his house.
Lies.
We all got the text. We all know. Literally before this, there was a text message in the group chat that said, "Come on, Ramon, not Ryan, Ramon."
I suddenly don't know how to read.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Do you not know what that quote is from?
I don't know. No.
Oh my God. What? That is from Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, see, that's what you get for being bisexual.
Well, there you go.
You only know half.
Now he's throwing me under the bus for that. Oh, of course. Just take another little sip, why don't you, of your alcohol? That's mama's medicine. This episode is really off the rails in the first 2 goddamn minutes, but that's okay because so is this week. This week has been crazy. So we're gonna talk about some listener questions later. We're going to play a couple games because we haven't been playing a couple games over the last couple weeks. There's one new one and one old one that we played before in the past. If we get time to the old one, we'll play that, but I definitely want to play the new one. It's a fun one. It's pretty simple too. We had some great things that did happen this week. We have a new Academy president, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's good news. Yay! Hopefully she makes smart choices with everything that's going on within this academy, but Erik, you wrote the piece about it, so why don't you tell us a little bit about it, right? About this great news. You got a lot of scoops this week. You got that.
It's not a scoop. That was an Academy press release.
You got a lot of press release scoop, but you're scooping. Yeah, we can make rumors and start things now. You got the scoop.
That's true. Yes, confirmation. Janet Yang is the Academy president. I can confirm that because it happened.
Exactly.
Yes, Janet Yang was elected president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, who put on the Oscars, and she is the first Asian person and only the 4th woman ever to be elected as president. So it's huge. There's a lot of. She is was a producer on the Joy Luck Club, People versus Larry Flint. She has a really cool producing career, but we never know what that means. We never know what the individual as president means in terms of the amount of influence that they can exert on the board of governors, because there's over a dozen different governors of different branches, and they all have say and speak in what happens with the Oscars, in choosing the producers and that kind of thing. So it's very hopeful. It's great, and I'm looking forward to her reign.
Well, I think Shobu Isaac, I thought she did a fantastic job as the Academy president, especially given everything that was going on, the Oscar So White controversies and everything. And I thought that those ceremonies, for the most part, were pretty good. But I think over the last couple of years, they haven't been so much. And so I'm hoping, with the museum out of the way and up and running and doing its own thing, the focus can, her first task is to try to put her first, big Oscars together here. And we'll see who the producers will be and who will host or hosts could be, since we had 3 of them last year. And obviously it's a monumental task considering the fact what happened last year. To follow that up, it'll be a lot to put on her shoulders as the first year to do so. But it is always just interesting too that we are getting closer and closer to that 100 year, and whoever is going to be the Academy president at that time is going to have a lot of weight on their shoulders to, really get us there, and we're inching closer. But this was fantastic news this week. We also had some other great, fantastic news that was a little bit late breaking last week, that Eric's dream movie, not the Madonna movie, but Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse movie, is the cast is rounding out. And so just
that was gross. That was gross. Hey, I am actually looking forward to this. They worked Patrick Swayze, who was obviously in the original, worked with Jake Gyllenhaal in Donnie Darko. So I enjoy that connection, and I hope that it is a fun remake or reboot or whatever they want to call it. Reboot isn't really the right word. It really should be remake.
Yeah, it's a remake. But we had some more announcements from Tiff this week. And I know Nicole, everybody's so excited. The Midnight Madness premiere of Weird, the Yankovic Story, that was big news this week. We also got our first look of Colman Domingo as Bayard Rustin in Rustin. Tentatively, that is still a 2023 release. So we'll see.
It is. It's just vague on what 2023 means.
Yeah,
yes.
See, that's a press release from a studio that confirms a 2023 release date.
Yes, but it confirmed the vagueness of what 2023 means. It didn't
but at least we
when.
can confirm that there was an actual release from Netflix about it.
Sure.
Which is what you're supposed to do when these things happen.
Well,
just pointing that out.
On that front, I do have a possible tidbit.
Okay.
On Killers of the Flower Moon. Which I will reveal now. So the movie shot under the working title Grey House, which was or is a community and school in Osage County, where the film and the story takes place. They just made a small, quiet announcement looking for extras to do 3 days of work in mid-August. So pickups, little extra bits and pieces. So you can use that information however you wish want to use it.
Also, that happens all the time.
It does. It does happen all the time. And
it happens a lot with Martin Scorsese movies too.
It does happen quite a bit. It's already happened with Killers of the Flower Moon. Pickups and
last minute things as they're going in the editing room and having to put
So I'm not saying that means
anything other than what it is.
No, jinx.
Yeah, I know.
You owe me some Coke. I mean, a Coke.
A Coke.
Oh my God.
An original Coke with cocaine in it. But
all that means is that we know that the film is not finished.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is what that tells us.
Scorsese movies are
exactly. Exactly. But we sound crazy, or we're the crazy loons over here.
Listen, even before that, the concept of a Scorsese movie being
late,
pushed a year or later, not exactly a revolutionary idea. Do I think that it's probably 2023? Yeah. But I don't know yet.
I mean,
nobody knows yet.
Is it a possibility that it's a late qualifier in December on December 31st or whatever, and then they release it wide in 2023? We don't know. Well, we don't know none of these things.
Yeah, because that happens every single year. And I know that we'll kind of get into a little bit of that with a listener question. But yes, every single year is Christmas Day releases that don't have any festival presence because they're pushing things right down to the wire.
I mean, shoot,
it just happens.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, like Licorice Pizza was doing that last year. They had like an LA only sort of location for a long, long time, and then Christmas Day it went out to LA, New York, and a couple places, and then it went all the way wide in January and February for most people. So it happens all the time. Clint Eastwood's like notorious for this in the fall, So take it with you, Will. But that was the big news in terms of Armageddon time is going to be special screening at New York. For anyone that's going to that or wants to know that, but we will probably be seeing it before then at some festivals.
Well, by the time this podcast comes out, New York will have revealed its lineup
and its closing night film, which I don't believe that they have announced that yet.
Nope.
So we don't know. But they did announce that the North American premiere of Noah Baumbach's White Noise will be heading there. Correct. This week, so that'll be their. I think it's their opening night film. Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
Which makes sense. It's Baumbach.
It makes total sense.
He's had like 7 movies at New York, so yes, absolutely.
But you know what?
We know that North American premiere means no Telluride. So
yes,
unless something weird happens,
we already knew that, and you didn't have to bring it up, and then it doesn't hurt at all. No, it doesn't. Shut up, Erik. But anyway, we're not here to talk about all this other little stuff that I just mentioned. We're here to talk about the thing that has sort of rocked the world this week, and that was the whole HBO Max Discovery Plus fiasco that has happened. And if you don't know out there, there was this, big story about the Batgirl movie that was going to be on HBO Max that was canceled right as they were finishing or going into post-production on it. And the movie cost $70 million to make. And for all these tax credit purposes that the studio could save on it, they scrapped it without telling the filmmakers and the stars and everything. They just did it. And this sort of started a chain of events that happened where the streaming services had the streaming service rather had a big meeting, and because they're doing this merger very soon, and basically had some of their PowerPoint presentation leaked out to everyone, which was hysterical. And
it wasn't a leak. I don't think I would call it a leak. People were on the call, and it was not like exactly.
Yeah, I know, but
privileged information.
Yeah, but it's like, for me personally, reading that stuff, I was like, this is what you want out there. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. You're right.
It was very binary.
You think? Especially one slide where I was like, this is what men like, and this is what women like, and you're like, the fuck. So it's led to like this just massive conversation about where we're at with streaming services. And we've this year have to see a lot of what's going on with Netflix too. And so I just kind of wanted to feel everyone's gauge this week about how they felt about this news. And Nicole, I'm going to start with you, since apparently I don't start with you enough. No, I'm just kidding.
Now that we know that HBO Max is no longer for me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. HBO in general. You can't ever watch anything else there, Nicole.
Not for me. I'm gonna have to tell my mom to stop watching Gilded Age. Since that's on HBO.
Sorry, that's for dudes.
That's for dudes. They love the Gilded Age and Sex in the City. But I'm just curious what your feelings were when you were taking in this news this week. It felt very dour online for a lot of people. So I'm just curious what your reaction was to all of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first of all, just to see the language that they were using around the whole HBO Max Discovery Plus, which, first of all, if anyone knows someone who has Discovery Plus, please get in touch and let me know what's on there, because I don't know a single person who has that. Of course you do,
Erik. Of course
I do have it, but it was only to watch Trixie Motel.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I just feel like nobody has that. So finding out that it's female skewed was fascinating. So obviously, part of it was just seeing that sort of talk to it in the way that companies are still trying to demographically talk about men and women in this very binary way just really frustrated me. Also, I'm already pretty frustrated about the idea that they're already taking things off of HBO Max. which is scary to me. I'm a huge fan of physical media. There are so many things I wish I could have on physical media, and nothing drives me up the wall more than the fact that Netflix doesn't release all of its films on physical media, because there are so many movies that I would love to have, even just for like, oh, my internet is out and I still want to watch something. Especially my internet at my parents' house is not great. So that's like another side of my frustration with it all, is just particularly also like after all of the news around Batgirl and the idea of movies getting scrapped and disappearing freaks me out. But I'm just very frustrated with a lot of it. It's also kind of interesting to see that like I feel like for so long, Netflix and HBO Max were kind of the leaders in the streaming space. And like this weekend's Hulu's had some great releases. Hulu's killing it. I feel like Disney Plus has become a very reliable streaming service, which makes sense because, Hulu and Disney Plus. And it just feels like there's a shift happening. And I don't know how to feel about that shift. But I'm curious to see what happens now, and I'm curious to see if they kind of listen to the amount of uproar that there has been over these announcements and what's going to happen from here on out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Josh, this for me this week. This was a big blow on so many levels: creatives, minorities, streaming services, diverse, just diverse content in general. I mean, and also not knowing what is going to survive and what is not going to survive. I mean, one of the biggest shows, and Eric, we've talked about it, is Hacks. They renewed it for a third season. They renewed all these shows for a third season or second season or whatever.
Our flag means death. For Our Flag Means Death. Yeah.
And
the idea that this might cost like one of the most diverse, interesting shows like that had to seemingly fight for its second season, and they let everyone celebrate it and then are kind of like, oops, maybe not. It's so frustrating on so many levels.
I mean, you're talking about one of the Emmy frontrunners for comedy that could win Best Comedy could be on the chopping block. I doubt that it will be. I think that HBO will put it in their regular programming or whatever, but it is on the table if they want to just be like, you know what, never mind. So Josh, what were your thoughts this week on all of this?
Well, first of all, just to kind of give the slightest benefit of the doubt and to play devil's advocate just a little bit, whenever there's a new CEO for anything, there is always going to be whatever happened before, we're not doing that, we have a new plan. Like that happens all the time, and it's frustrating and disappointing, but you kind of have to go with it. So I do understand from a business perspective, a new guy comes in, there's going to be changes. I get that. I'm a little bit more uneasy about the just canceling projects that are nearly 90% done and saying this will never be released. I'm a little bit more nervous about even finished content that is on your website and on your service, and just pulling that down arbitrarily without ever talking to anybody about it and not discussing what the future of that release is going to be in the future and what that means to the people that worked on it. That might be, it's necessary for them to know how many people are watching that, because that's how they get paid residuals. Like, it opens up a lot of other things that I'm very nervous about. And it seems like there's no consideration for that, because there's just the bottom line. It's just, how is this affecting the dollars and cents that are going into our portfolio? And I get it, but I feel like there's a way you can do that while also maintaining your relationships with talent. And it just seems like there is no consideration of that at this point, certainly. Like, maybe next year when things become a little bit more clear with the actual merger happening, maybe it'll be better. But at this point, I think they've done a very poor job of communicating that. And it just seems like they are a place that does not care about what you actually do for them, only how much money you're bringing in.
I mean, they are the studio that lost one of the biggest directors on the planet in the last year. And I know
it's looking like a smart decision now.
Very smart decision by Universal, who's going to have a major year this year and then next year. But it's also, they are they, when they put up stuff like what they did in those PowerPoints, it is so it reminds me of Steve Jobs, where the choice doesn't have to be it's not binary. There's so many plethora of things that they could do to try to keep going or give final seasons or to give this Batgirl movie, which I mean, say many things about the MCU, the fact that their representation with Latinos is very poor within that franchise, in my opinion. And this was going to be WB doing something different and primarily for that streaming platform. And it was going to be like their way of connecting their DCEU, which is, I mean, I got to say this, I don't mind the DCEU being kind of like, we'll do whatever, because it's a lot more fun and you get a lot more crazy things and different things and some weird swings and some misses that are actually like a lot more director focus and producer focus, like something like Birds of Prey, mind you, than like having the Marvel movies that all feel very much in the same template and the same style and gets a little repetitive after a while. But to scrap a whole movie like that, to not contact the creatives, they're at a wedding. For Christ's sake, the cast doesn't even know. They're finding out online. It's like for a sports analogy here. Sorry, Eric. For a sports analogy, that's like telling a player you're going to be traded to another country, and you're not going to tell them until like they land there accidentally. Like it's very it reeks of, I'm a billionaire and I can do what I want now because I'm in charge. And it's very discerning to those people, not even just the fans. Like, take the fans and us as viewers out of it. The people that are making that's years of their lives that they're putting into it and making a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And it takes a lot to make a movie. It's 1,000 times harder to make a movie than it is to just watch it, or review it or whatever.
Again, I understand that if there's a new CEO coming in and he does not have faith in this project and doesn't want to support it, like, I get it. It's disappointing, but I get it. It's just the wholesale, like, this is never seeing the light of day because we're just going to do a tax write-up. Like, that is what's a little bit more insidious about the decision to me.
And the way that people found out about it.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, there was a show in the West End earlier this year that the cast and crew found out that the show was closing from a news article instead of being told by the creative team. And that should never happen.
Eric, and to be clear, the director of Batgirl didn't find out the cancellation at a wedding. He found out at his own wedding.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's supposed to be the happiest day of your life.
This whole thing was such a weird mixed bag, because all of the rumors and the things that were circulating before the announcement were like 70% of HBO Max, employees is going to be let go because of redundancy and all that. And yes, that is a whole nother element of conglomerates, enveloping other conglomerates as the level of redundancy gets really high and people lose jobs. That always happens.
Well, we saw it earlier this year with Netflix, and they had a ton of people they had to let off too.
And we were just talking about, what the role of the new president of AMPAS is going to look like. We have a new CEO of Discovery, and his thoughts and choices, although not entirely his own, because there is a board of directors of mostly white men. But he seems to be coming from a place of, I don't know, it feels very Trumpian. It's like, my predecessor's success I'm going to erase as much of that as possible so that I can make my own success.
Mm-hmm.
So he absolutely does not care about any of the things that worked before he got there. He only wants to make his own mark on what he feels and what he feels his board of directors will work. And that's been, I guess, the more surprising part, because there were elements that didn't really come to fruition exactly as the rumors were kind of threatening to be. No shows specifically were canceled, but they also used, language like anytime soon, which completely opens the door for things to be canceled that had renewals before any of this happened. Apparently, though, Casey Bloys is staying with HBO and HBO Max. Absolute fantastic gay executive that greenlights and leads so many of the most successful shows. Just had a 5-year contract renewed in July. But so he looks like he is staying. That's a good sign for a lot of the things that we're talking about. Like, oh my God, is Hacks going to be canceled? I don't think Hacks is going to be canceled. The worst thing that might happen to Hacks is that it would move over to regular HBO. But kind of what they've been trying to establish is, here's HBO stuff and here's Max originals. They really wanted to, for use of a better term, maximize HBO Max as a destination, as an application, as a place to go to. And now what they want to do is sort of what Disney Plus and Peacock have tried to do, which is divert people over to another platform, yet another platform.
This is like the 4th time that they've done this, which is crazy.
So they want Discovery to improve and increase in its subscribers. So they're doing everything else to kind of make that happen. It's the fighting over this is so crazy. And again, just no matter if we're talking about how festival programmers have to fight for the movies that they want to premiere, or what we're talking about now, this is all about a very small number of people getting to have wins, and the audience at large losing. And everybody loses in all of these fights. The audience is not a winner in these fights at all. They have to pay more. They lose the things that they thought they had. It sucks. It's messy, and it's going to happen when you have these studios that own multiple networks and multiple everything else. It's kind of always going to be that way. And I think I tweeted last week that the movies going to Hulu from Searchlight and 20th Century and Disney and all that don't seem quite so bad now, because at least they're getting seen. Hulu is got incredible content from Searchlight Pictures and from 20th. It doesn't mean that they don't deserve a theatrical release, because they do, obviously, but at least it's going to be seen.
I mean, and actually on that note, there was mention about how, at least with like Warner Brothers, they are going to put more effort into theatrical distribution of their movies. And, when you first hear that, you do think like, okay, well, that's good, because I think we all here appreciate the theatrical exhibition of movies, and we like the idea that there's going to be an emphasis to put more of them in there. But it is one of those things where you have to dig deeper, and it's like, okay, but what are the movies that are going to get that treatment? And it just seems like it's more DC stuff. It's more big budget, high profile tentpoles, and less of the smaller kind of independent type movies out there. And that's another thing where it's like, on the surface, sounds like a good idea, but the actual content that they are giving you in terms of what will be in theaters doesn't really sound like it's a step in the right direction either.
I will say one thing, Josh, to not to push back on you a little bit, but I did have a conversation this week with a couple of people, and one of them was with Scott Mendelson over at Forbes, and he does, obviously a lot of their box office stuff and breakdown. He said that they still plan to release 20 to 25 films a year, And given that studio, they cannot afford every one of those films to be $200-300 million budget films. Like no studio can release 20 to 25 of those. And so I don't think movies like Judas and the Black Messiah or King Richard and those things are going away. I think that they will be probably a little bit more strategic in how many of those films come out and whatnot. And also too, the idea of a Warner Brothers, they don't do, in my opinion, they don't do a lot of independent films outside of what they were doing on HBO.
More than the others do, to be
That's
honest.
fair. No, that's very fair. But I think that like a perfect example of some of the craziness of HBO Max, when it was just like last year was, I was watching a lot of Steven Soderbergh films, and the fact that I was reading that something like Magic Mike 3 was going to be an HBO Max exclusive. And I sat there and went, that's stupid, because those movies are made on a reasonable budget, and they do make good turnaround. They don't make like, Shazam or Wonder Woman or Dune, but they make decent money for that studio to justify greenlighting these films. Plus, that is a movie you watch with an audience. And I think that while I can see the frustrations also of this new strategic plan, like you were saying, Josh, the optimist in me goes, no, this is them transitioning away from their pandemic ideas of we're going to put the movies day and day release on the platform. Because I thought to myself, why are they reacting like this? The first thing that came into my head was Top Gun Maverick. That movie has not hit a single streaming platform whatsoever. And it has made $1.3 billion. And it just passed Titanic on the domestic box office, right?
Okay, but that's because of Tom Cruise, and he wouldn't allow the 45-day window.
Exactly.
Because
on that movie.
His filmmaking as a producer is now less the upfront dollar value and the back end value.
Correct.
So of course he wants, yes, I would like 120 days of theatrical release, and anything else is a giant, fuck you.
But it is the biggest success this year, no question. And it's the biggest story, and people are going, oh my God. This is the reaction to that, in my opinion, is that they see this because look at the Batman made good money, but it was on the streaming platform and it's on already.
It still made $700 million. It did just.
Yeah, it was the 45 days afterwards.
It did just fine.
And so I'm just seeing through the trees here that this is a little bit of the industry going, we want to be back at that level. We want to be able to go back. And then he is an old school thinker, this guy. And he doesn't laugh. Yes, he's very much an old school way of thinking.
The one that doesn't think that diversity in leadership is like a priority of any kind.
I'm not saying
that he looks like he would call you the F slur to your face, but I'm not saying it.
I'm just saying is that I think that this is a bit of that sort of reaction of that. Right now, people are going back to the theaters. And at the time of this decision, when HBO Max was created, the biggest selling point for so many people, besides like the idiotic, stuff with the Justice League or whatever that crap, the biggest selling point was the day and day release. Well, they're not doing that. They're getting further and further away from that. For the theatrical side, this is a huge win for theaters, a huge win in terms of going back maybe to a 60-day window, a 90-day window, doing things like that. On the television side, I think that this is a massive loss. That's what I'm saying. For theaters, for the physical media, I think that they will go back mostly to the way Warner Brothers used to be with that. So Soderbergh will either go and continue to make movies with them, or he'll go and find someone else. I'm sure Apple would love to have Steven Soderbergh movies being made for him because he's open to it. But on the same token, I think that the one that this hits the most right now, and the one that I think is more dire, is the television, because you have all these shows that were green, especially animated shows too, and all these different things that are hanging in the balance. And then you look at the call sheet of what their priorities of their properties were. And something else came to mind when I was looking at that, because they talked about how the Batman was a success and all these things. There was one property that was not discussed: Dune. And so I think that as much as we want to celebrate Dune's success in the theater, this next movie needs to be big. It needs to be like a Batman, 700, 800, 900 million dollars to justify that television show, to justify the third, because I think that they are making it already, and it's out and they're filming it already. That was not on the what is it, like the dream board of crap. And I was sitting there going, oh, that's not good. So there was a couple things that caught my eye, but I think that they're going to go back to that.
Your optimism kind of confuses me, Ryan.
It's a weird time. It really
does, especially because I keep coming back to that quote he had about Clint Eastwood and Cry Macho. And like, regardless of your feelings about the movie, like, I don't think it's a great movie, but the fact is that Clint Eastwood doesn't spend a lot on his films.
No, and he shoots under budget.
50-year relationship with that place that apparently just means nothing to this guy. And if he has that opinion about Clint Eastwood, like, what chance is there for any other filmmaker working for them?
Yes, exactly. Denis Villeneuve's their big cash cow right now, and he's out in the desert of Budapest making that movie. And I'm like, you're not safe, buddy. Like, you're not.
Desert of Budapest?
I don't know what the hell they're doing out there. They're making shit.
It just shows the continued chasm between art and commerce, which is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know, if you want to play devil's advocate, Ryan, I understand the concept of a network that also has multiple streamers now that they have to juggle and figure out how they're going to manage their television properties, how they're going to manage their own film properties on now their own networks. That didn't used to be the case. You just made a movie and then you
put that sucker out,
sold the rights to, you know, different networks, and it was the number of steps, you know, were very reduced at that point. So things are much, much more complicated because of so many pies these fingers are in now. And instead of making, you know, artistic choices, every single choice is a bottom line choice. The Batgirl, you know, tax write-down choice, it's also not the first time. Harry Potter, notoriously.
I saw that you tweeted that this week.
I mean,
Order of the Phoenix, right?
You don't have to go far back to see how Hollywood accounting is extremely creative. They should make a movie of that because it's so creative.
But also too, no one's seen, as terrible as this all is, the idea from what I've read about all this, they had some sort of, that's the other thing too, is they want this 10-year DCEU plan, which is like
that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole laughable debate of like, you're going to continue to chase the mirage of Marvel in the desert. Congratulations.
While doing nothing at Comic-Con because they had so many problematic and troublesome productions. But we also know that they are full steam ahead and in support of the Flash.
It's
regardless
insane.
of Ezra Miller's unbelievably horrible behavior.
And that movie was supposed to connect somehow also too because of Michael Keaton's Batman being in that, and then he was also supposed to be in this Batgirl movie. And then
imagine for a moment not wanting to capitalize on the return of Michael Keaton as Batman and Brendan Fraser as your villain, who's going to have a huge next year. Like, what the hell? And he's in HBO Max's Doom Patrol, also incredible. If you haven't seen, he is amazing in that. Like, what is going on? What is going on?
And then if you're Leslie Grace, who this is going to be your big breakout following In the Heights, you're just sitting there going like, this is twice now I've been kind of scorned by this company and the release strategy of my last film, and now the complete absence of this film.
Well, she should go over to Universal.
I think she's in Oppenheimer right now. You know what I mean? So But
That's not true. There's only white people in there.
yeah, that's true. And Rami Malek. But anyway, no, I don't know what he is. He's like Freddie Mercury. He's a chameleon.
He's Egyptian.
I was just kidding. God dang, it's a joke.
Oh my
But anyway, I'm sure I'll be on Megan's Kelly podcast to talk about it down the road. But anyway, no, I just for me right now, they used to they were always, I think, what's crazy about this is HBO Max, regardless of all the crap that they have taken, because they were HBO Plus, and then they were HBO Now, and now they're HBO Max, and trying to get your grandma to sign up for it was a pain in the ass and whatnot. They actually had the best interface, I think, outside of like Netflix, in terms of a hell of a lot better than Amazon Prime.
No one has a good interface. All of these
Amazon Prime
are terrible.
Hasn't been updated since 1984.
They just did an update.
They just updated.
They
And
just
it still
did
looks
an
bad.
update. I know,
It
but
still looks bad.
they like literally just did one.
Like, good Lord, it's terrible. And Nicole, you're right. Like, the movie anyone all wanted to talk about this week, nobody wanted to talk about Bullet Train. They wanted to talk about Prey, that was on Hulu this week and did fantastic.
I could talk about the fact that I think that they messed up in not theatrically releasing
Absolutely.
Prey, because that would have played so well in a theater. And from the few people who got to see it in theater that I've talked to, like, it played so well there. And I think it would have made a lot of money, actually.
Yeah.
Because word of mouth has been very good on it. And like, y'all know me, I am not a like horror or action girl, but I was obsessed. I very much enjoyed it. Like, it did everything so right, and it was such, I felt like, a step in the right direction in terms of representation. And like, shout out to Hulu for having it, but
Shout out
also
for
it's
them
like
making
you could have made more money off of it.
True. I mean, they could have ran Leo Grand earlier this year, and so Emma Thompson could be in the Oscar conversation. I mean, no one's perfect in all of this. They have their analytics and they try to figure it all out.
This is a balance, though, of being able to have television properties and film properties.
Yeah.
Something like Searchlight has so many films that to be able to split that, over to television, whether it's Fire Island or Leo Grand, and then having Empire of Light and Banshees I get that. I absolutely get it. And I'm not against that at all. I'm in favor of that. But I also completely understand when you are trying to curate both your existing IP as a studio and your burgeoning or fledgling streamer. You want that to be successful too. So you want to be able to drop things in there that feel that they're going to grab an audience.
Yeah.
I think the problem with some of it is that it's not the the stuff like Fire Island, Leo Grand they're a smaller audience. Clearly, they're targeted to a more specific audience, and that audience is going to watch those movies. But you're kind of denying the great headlines that you can have when something is theatrically released,
like the indie, like an indie box office. Like, you slowly let it go out and it built up anticipation, like sort of traditional indie films would with that case.
Everything Everywhere is obviously the big
that is the other big one
this year.
Yeah. Imagine
if A24 had like a streamer outside of its relationship with Showtime. I mean, it might have gone there after less than 45 days.
Yeah, because after Yang, that is a movie that came and then almost certainly went.
And we weren't even talking about the fact that Neon is putting itself up for purchase right now.
That was the other thing.
Holy shit.
All that this week sort of put under the rug was like, oh yeah, by the way, everyone's favorite, thing during award season or for your consideration packet, that studio, the one that everybody loves Parasite for. Yeah, that's up for sale. And you go, shit, because it's like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? I think they were literally announced on the same day as all this stuff was going on.
Yeah,
and nobody picked that up.
It certainly hasn't gotten as much attention.
No, but then you kind of like, oh, who's going to pick it up? Who's going to buy it, or who will buy it? And because those,
but the only people that can buy that kind of thing are competitors, and that's not going to be good for, again.
No, I mean, like,
for the audience.
And then you start to wonder who's going to win the Palme d'Or next year. And shit. Like, if they're not making it, who's going to win it?
3 years in a row.
3 years in a row. And they're the back-to-back champions. They're a dynasty at this point.
That's so funny.
But no, Josh is right, because I feel so many emotions about this week, because like on one hand, I feel it made me feel good about like theatrical. I'm like, oh, okay, then they're gonna like try to primarily go with it. But then it's just, okay, what are they gonna do? Well, they're gonna probably continue to do what they normally do, and maybe they'll, I mean, shoot, one of their biggest properties they have next year, besides all their DC stuff, is Greta Gerwig's Barbie, which is like,
but look what they're doing. Look what they're doing right now with Elvis. It's an ever evolving status, because Elvis was going to be a 45-day, to HBO,
and then it changed
Max release, and it's not, because it's for a mid-range adult original film. It's hugely successful.
Yeah.
So they're recognizing that, and I totally understand that.
I get it.
Totally get that.
And also, it makes people go back to the place in which most of those executives probably want to have their films go, because they'll probably make more money that way.
To the Jim Crow era?
No.
No. To the theaters.
To the theaters.
Got it.
Not
to
in
the
the
place
film.
where heartbreak feels good.
Yes, exactly. That was the biggest news this week.
Thank you. Can we talk about the renewal of Nicole Colman as the AMC rep? Thank you.
How does Regal not have one? Like, how do they not have like
who the fuck
rival?
cares about Regal?
I'm just saying.
Are you kidding me?
Everyone outside of like New York and LA. That's who cares
give a
about.
shit about Regal.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Who would they?
The AMC's around here are not worth going.
Who would y'all think that Regal could get to rival Nicole Kidman?
Tony the Tiger. Oh wait.
Fucking hell.
Like a human? No, nobody.
Yeah, get Tom Cruise to do it.
Are you out of your mind?
What, he's Mr. Save Cinema, right?
Regal doesn't have that in their budget.
Yeah, they do.
That would sink them.
Evidently,
because
based off your comments, you want to save them? Like,
he would get residuals every time that ad played before a movie. Are you out of your mind?
They need to get like J-Lo.
Oh, J-Lo and Ben Affleck.
Don't you mean J Fleck?
Yeah, don't you mean
or whatever it is now?
Jennifer Affleck?
Yeah. I think that's the key.
Affleck. Get the duck in her, right? Anyway.
Both of them together, are you kidding? If they do anything together, that like whatever it is,
let them host the Oscars.
Even if it's Geely too, it's gonna be huge.
Let them host the Oscars.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
One is a winner and one is a huge snubby who cried about it.
Okay. All right.
No, it's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, he did cry too, both times.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts you guys have about the future of Warner Brothers and the future of streamers in general? It feels like with Netflix and what's happened to them this year, Warner Brothers now, there's just a lot of uncertainty.
Well, streaming has always been a bubble.
It really has.
There's no money in streaming. There really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
When you really look into it, it is very, very hard to make a ton of money in streaming. And I feel like studios have been relying on it for a while because it was sort of new and you can attract talent and kind of prop it up. But that is a bubble. And I feel like we're getting close to the point of it popping.
With the pandemic, I think that made streaming look so much more viable than it actually is once you're no longer in the full lockdown of a global pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're still in a pandemic. Surprise. But I think that sort of prolonged it because theaters weren't a viable option for a while. But I don't know. I have such mixed feelings because obviously I'm very passionate about the theatrical experience, but also as someone who does not live in New York or LA, there are so many smaller films that if they don't come to streaming, I have to wait like months sometimes to see them. So I have very mixed feelings on feeling like it's about to burst.
Yeah, and that doesn't even speak to the accessibility level for people with disabilities or who are immunocompromised. And the pandemic and the streaming thing was a huge boon, and then it was taken away.
Yeah, because I mean, like film festivals right now are going completely back to, besides Sundance for next year, everyone is pretty much back to a in-person platform only, especially this
mostly. TIFF is, unless you're press. Well, no, not press. Actually, everybody now.
Yeah. So I mean, NYFF was like that. Telluride obviously is like that. Pretty much everybody is back to being in person, and it's back to the exclusivity, I guess, or I don't know. It's back to being only about the people in the room and not about everybody else. And that's
Lady Gaga says 99 people.
Oh, God damn it. God damn it. No, but I will say this is that for the streaming platforms that you don't hear a lot about, and I would have thought that included Warner Brothers, but I guess not. You have to have some sort of, like, Josh, to your point, something that makes you not a bubble, because Netflix is a bubble. At a certain point, their desk is just going to, like, somebody's going to knock on the door and be like, I'm here to collect.
They've never made money.
No, they never made money, and they never will. But like Apple, Amazon, Hulu is with Disney, like those
Disney Plus,
like
but all of them have things outside of the film.
Exactly, that's
Netflix doesn't have that.
Exactly. And
that's why they're like, hey, we're going to look into ad-supported content now.
Netflix just needs to diversify their income stream and start selling their movies on physical media.
Yeah, I'd like a private life, please. On
outside of Criterion.
Outside of just do it, and not like the DVDs, because good lord, they just do DVD releases.
I want to say one thing about that though, because
we don't have time. We run out. Oh, I'm just kidding.
One of the things that kind of came out during all of this, like this content is disappearing, was the very vocal people in support of physical media. Obviously, I'm in support of physical media as well, but not everybody can afford everything that they want on physical media all the time. So when I see, like, posts on Twitter that's like, this is why physical media is important and you should buy things, and they'll show a picture of their room which has 8,000 DVDs. I'm like, that is awesome and that's super cool. That is not everybody's ability and experience. Sometimes having $4.99 or $9.99 a month that they can pay to have thousands of movies at their disposal is a really great and economical thing to do.
Yeah,
that's all.
But also
absolutely.
Also to that.
No, I totally agree.
That being said, those are the same people also that still, send pictures during the Criterion halls and stuff. But anyway, that's beside the point. But
all that said, though, I would give an arm to have To All the Boys I Loved Before on physical media, Netflix, if you're listening.
I would love to have a Blu-ray copy of The Five Bloods, please.
I think Netflix not putting things on physical media, even though I just said what I just said, is kind of wild.
It's wild.
Just do it.
Well, it's like,
and where's the Netflix Adventure Center? If you're gonna put $200 million into the Gray Man and that like Gal Gadot movie, where's the theme park there?
Yeah,
come on.
Wait,
where's the Gal Gadot experience?
The way that I would go to a Netflix like theme park, though.
Honestly, their Emmy FYC stuff that they do, and they're
turn it into a theme park
are
with the Stranger Things stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, don't even. The Stranger Things experience. I went to that.
Y'all, it's so fun.
It's great. It was so cool.
It was so good.
Yeah.
And not just because I got chosen as a group leader.
I did too. I did too.
I was the yellow group leader.
I was red.
Amazing.
I loved it. It was so much fun. Yeah.
I'm literally thinking about going a second time.
Yeah, no, it was great. But yeah, they have all of these like things potentially like at their disposal. Do it. Do something.
I mean,
economically diverse.
I mean, we are still, and I'm not trying to call out Apple, but still don't have a physical release for, if you're into that kind of collecting, for Coda. If you collect Best Picture winners, it's not on.
Where is my Coda Blu-ray?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
it's
like
the American release, because I was actually having a conversation about this earlier, that I
it's
think
international, right?
yeah, in
I think.
international territories there is a physical release for it, but it's just not in America yet.
Which is
Yeah.
like the
Dumb.
biggest one of the biggest markets for it. Yeah.
Yeah, a Best Picture winner should be on physical
Yeah,
media.
it really should. Well, it was
yeah,
like
these purists and completionists must be losing their mind.
yeah, for
right
I think
now.
that's why for years Netflix hasn't won Best Picture, because there's the uncertainty of that, and then go.
Yeah, but if they win Best Picture, it's going to be on Criterion.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're going to sell it like a deluxe edition for $100.
That's happening.
So
They've already reserved the spot for it.
yeah, exactly.
100%.
They're just waiting. It's just collected dust at this point. So
Yeah, probably the
Well.
reason why we haven't gotten Power of the Dog yet is that the box art already had Best Picture winner on it, so they had to quickly get rid of it.
Mhm.
No, the different one, the other one. So okay, well, that's HBO Max Discovery. Oh, by the way, does anybody have like a projective title for the new streaming platform? It's not supposed to have Discovery or HBO in it. Do you guys have like a guess as to what it might be, or like what you would want it?
D-Max.
D-Max?
That sounds like gay porn.
Yeah, you'd be down.
I
for
would
it.
not. I
Obviously.
genuinely would not be shocked if they make it something that everyone is like, that doesn't sound like what you think it does. Like,
Considering that everyone has just done like pluses, they all jumped on that bandwagon. It's going to be so basic.
Yeah, like I
It's
bet
really-
you.
I don't think it's gonna have-
I bet you still has HBO in it.
Yeah, it's not going to have Max.
HBO
because-
squared. You know what I mean, or whatever. That's all they got left.
it's just
You know.
HBO Plus.
HBO discovered to the fourth power. You know what I mean? There you go.
They had HBO Now. They had
HBO Max,
they're gonna go
HBO
through all
Now.
of them.
And then they'll have HBO gone at that point. So, all right, we're gonna move on to some listener questions. Are y'all ready?
Let me pull up my sheet for that.
Well, nobody cares about your sheet. Anyway,
Literally everyone does. But okay.
Brian asks, do you believe Babylon will make an appearance at any fest this year? You know, wait for AFI, and those festivals, obviously, like the Fall Fest of Venice, TIFF, Telluride, NYFF, or it'll wait for AFI, or just skip and drop into theaters on the scheduled date. It'd be Chazelle's first film to not premiere at a festival. Nicole?
I don't know, because it does seem like they could do well with a film like that being sort of a late release. Don't give people time to really go too far into it, if that makes sense. But at the same time, like you said, it would be Chazelle's first time not going to a festival. So I don't know, like, if we should expect to see it at a later thing or AFI Fest or something. But I do think like there's a strategy there to not dropping it at a festival and sort of not letting discourse have time to form around it.
Josh?
Yeah, I think that if it were going to hit something, like AFI would probably be the only option at this point. But at the same time, I think that maybe that's a movie where the pedigree and the people involved is enough to sell it, and they don't have to worry about a festival presence. So I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen with it, just because that cast is so enormous, and you can just say, hey, big Hollywood movie with all these actors in it. That's enough for us.
Okay. Eric?
I'm kind of in that vein. Obviously a Telluride surprise would be fantastic, you know.
Quit trying to like pin back what we want to see, Eric. Like, jeez.
You know, we've talked about before that big studio and studio films using Telluride as a launch pad have become a little more common now. It's happening more, and what we know is going to be a Telluride is looking a little slim. But again, we're having this conversation before New York Film Festival announces, and we will know based on those premiere statuses a lot more about what looks like is going to happen at Telluride. I don't feel like it's a Telluride movie at all. Maybe AFI. This sort of circles back to the conversation about Killers of the Flower Moon, because although it's Apple, the distributor is Paramount. They have Babylon. That's a hugely expensive movie. I
Mhm.
feel like it would be difficult, even though they have that $1 billion from Top Gun now, to try and kind of manage two giant Oscar campaigns.
Mhm.
So I feel, aside from that, I feel like it's going to just be one of those films that has no festival presence, that we see every single year,
Mhm.
and just come out and like
Well,
I said, just be built on Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie and these names.
yeah. I mean, that was literally Nightmare Alley. That
Yeah,
was Licorice Pizza.
it's every single year. West Side
Yeah.
Story. It just
West
it
Side
always
Story.
happens. It's
Happens.
not like it's not a weird thing to happen.
Nope. No. It just, you know,
You
that's
just
where
don't
he's
win
at.
Best Picture.
That's where he's that's where he's at though. It's like he can release a film like that, and
Even
like
First
November.
Man was at Toronto. So.
Yeah. I thought it was at Telluride.
Was it?
Was it?
I was at Toronto in 2018 and it was there.
Okay. I thought it was there before, but went to the other place. Maybe I'm wrong. I know it definitely
don't
probably
know.
played
I
Venice.
don't remember.
It definitely had to play one of those early ones. Natty wants to know, how do you see West Side Story place in the race last year, and how it will affect and translate in terms of Spielberg's odds and the campaign for The Fabelmans this year? Well, I think that the movie the movie did fine last year, but I think if anything, it's just like a springboard of like, and we dipped the toe back in the water. Now we're going to even go full submerge. I feel with this year.
I feel like last year West Side Story did have going against it, being a remake of a very beloved film,
Mhm.
and I am the first person to say it's not technically a remake. It's a adaptation of the
Thank
same
you.
source material,
Thank
but people talked about it as a remake, like in terms of public opinion, it was a
Mhm.
remake, and also having a very, let's say, polarizing leading man that they were trying to work their way around. I think that all of that means that The Fabelmans actually stands a much better chance, and we saw that West Side Story did better than a lot of people expected. So I think The Fabelmans is going to do even better because it's not working against those two things.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and they clearly like the filmmaker talking about his childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
the
like,
showing
that's the
of
bread
West
and
Side
butter, Josh.
the showing
at
of
this
West
point.
Side Story without any festival appearance and as a mid-December film definitely showed his strength.
Well, it's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And The Fabelmans making an early start at TIFF, his first appearance at TIFF.
Yeah.
For me, the sky is the limit for that film, and I think he's going to have 2 supporting actress wins in a row.
Papa wants that third Oscar too. You can feel it. I mean, you're not going to go. I mean, he's going to go do I feel like he's going to go do some of the smaller festivals too. I feel like this will be the big run of, we get to celebrate Steven Spielberg.
I think so, because I think there's, obviously I haven't seen it, but I think there's going to be an intimacy of this film that while still being a big studio release is going to be at home at a small festival too.
I also think too, last year Universal really didn't have much, and this year it was like they were just sitting back.
Dear Evan Hansen, what are you talking about?
That's not a real movie. That doesn't exist. No streaming platform wants it. And so they're just kind of sitting back last year, and this is the year where they're going to be like, surprise, motherfuckers, we are a part of this race. And this is their big play. And when they announced that movie going to TIFF, I went, well, if Killers of the Flower Moon's not coming out, we definitely know what's in the lead right now, because good Lord, they're taking it very seriously. And I hope so, because, Steven Spielberg is a pioneer in the industry and everything.
I also think, thinking about West Side Story, even with everything it had working against it, obviously we saw it did well at the Oscars in terms of nominations, and it was a true Star is Born type moment for both Ariana DeBose and Rachel Zegler. And I think that, that sort of speaks to the continuing power of Spielberg. So I feel like everything is sort of lined up for Fabelmans to be a big deal.
Yeah, and everybody couldn't shut up about Mike Feist either, too.
Well, because Mike Feist is like the true breakout.
But David Alvarez was great.
Sure.
What we're saying is there were a lot of very talented, lovely people in that film.
And then there was the lead.
Big boost.
Yeah.
I mean, it was even able to be essentially a box office flop, because it absolutely was. And it still did just fine at the Oscars. I hope that The Fabelmans is not so floppy, but we'll see.
Yeah, because it won't have
Floppy.
a surge in the pandemic to really tackle, to attach itself to that narrative.
You hope not. Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Knock on wood, Josh. Gosh. Rob wants to know, is Amsterdam a player? The trailer was met with a thud. Speaking of problematic people, and it hasn't shown up on any of the festivals so far. And it's like, well,
Speaking of movies that aren't real.
speaking of movies that maybe aren't real and also could be an absolute night. That trailer, by the way, just looked like a mess.
That
An absolute
trailer
mess.
looked like it was for a movie where they don't know what it's actually about.
I got to the end of that trailer, and the only thing that my brain had processed was like, wow, Margot Robbie pretty. That's all I got.
I'm just going to
There was
say
nothing
no
going
and
on.
move on.
Yeah.
It's a movie that exists. I don't think it'll go in any festivals because then they'd have to answer questions. That cast would have to answer questions. So, and that's not fair to the cast, but they also made those
It's going to
decisions
happen
to work.
anyway.
Tamara asks, this year we've seen some more diverse films being released in theaters since 2020 is one of the most diverse years, she's saying. Do you think that will be reflected in the nominations this year? God, I hope so.
I hope so. There are heavy hitters that have films coming out this year that make me worry that it's going to default to sort of, the people who have always been popular with the Academy, and they're going to take up spots, and so other people aren't going to get in. But I hope that's not what happens. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's what does happen.
Well, we talked about Rustin earlier. Like, that's a movie where it's like, if that movie's not in the conversation, and Shirley's not in the conversation, and
we don't know yet.
Apple has Emancipation sitting on the shelf. I'm just saying it's sitting on the shelf. Don't roll your eyes at me, Eric. I'm just saying it. And
that wasn't it. You.
Yeah, I know it was. No, it wasn't me. Surprisingly, it wasn't. But no, I hope so. I hope it's. Yeah, we always want to see diverse nominations and everything.
I hope, but honestly, after last year, I have no faith in the acting branch.
Yeah. Oh, Javier Bardem.
J.K. Simmons is by far
that's
the
fair.
most egregious thing.
Like, that was like,
I have no faith in them to do the right thing.
That's fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. Kinsey, this is the last question. Kinsey wants to know, if you were to put together a new ensemble cast for an upcoming film, what 6 actors would you pick? And this goes off to the diversity question. Don't be like a Wes Anderson movie and pick just a bunch of white people, okay? Eric.
What? Me?
The hairdo kind of makes you look a little Wes Anderson, to be fair, today.
I don't know what that
He's got that long. He's got the longest hair. Yeah.
It's not long. It's super short. It's only long in front.
You guys got a good answer to this? Anybody?
Okay. I've got thoughts.
Okay. All right. Jump in, Nicole.
I was trying to narrow it down to
Kinsey
6.
made a real who are 6 people I love?
Truly, the 6th thing is hard. I want to start out by saying I want this to be a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
And hence my number 1 person is Adam Driver, because put Adam Driver in more rom-coms is my number 1 agenda at all times.
And have it be directed by a woman, please.
Yes, exactly.
He's good, but he needs to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna say Adam Driver, Gemma Chan, Gugu Mbatha Raw, because I want to see her in everything always, and Oscar Isaac, because I want Oscar Isaac in a rom-com ASAP.
Daddy.
He also needs to sing in it. He will be singing in it. And then I'm gonna say Selena Gomez, because I think she's actually an underrated comedic talent. And I'm going to round it out with my latest obsession, Joe Keery, who I would love to see do a proper rom-com.
You've been on the Joe Keery kick.
That's a really horny cast, Nicole.
It is, but tell me that wouldn't.
It's a movie for one, Eric. It's a movie for one.
I would definitely want to stream that and not watch in the theater.
I'm just saying, I think that rom-com would do numbers.
It would be
numbers
fun.
Of what? I won't say.
As long as it's not like a Gary Marshall rom-com, but like a good one. Yeah.
No. We're going female directed rom-com, you know. I'm thinking something like, what was the one that came out earlier this year? I Want You Back. That was actually good on Amazon Prime. Yeah. I want the return of the rom-com. So.
All right. Josh, do you have an answer for this?
You know, when I saw this question, it actually reminded me of something that I did post on Twitter like years ago, where I actually did like a pitch for a movie, which was to have Emma Thompson and Julie Walters play lesbian moms to Ben Whishaw that go on a European road trip.
Yes.
So
yes,
there's that already.
I'm writing the check for that right now.
Yeah.
And I'm buying my tickets for the opening night.
Nicole, I think you said something to this tweet at the time, because I remember a suggestion of saying that Lily James should be his sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Throwing it out there again.
2 more.
Yeah. Well, then the 2 other ones would probably be people that they meet on, you know, the road, the love interest, the 2 of them. So I don't know. 2 beautiful people.
2 beautiful people. Love it. All right. Eric, you have a long-winded answer?
It's just Jake Gyllenhaal 6 times, but that's
good God.
No.
So Enemy, like
a
3 times.
a remake of Multiplicity with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
Yes, Enemy Squared. No, actually, it is with him. Obviously, because obviously. But it's actually with Melanie Linsky, Leslie Manville, Andre Holland, Tilda Swinton, and Daniel Kaluuya in a Mike Lee murder mystery comedy.
I am buying my ticket now. Okay.
Fuck. God damn it. That's good.
It would be pretty extreme. I mean, Gyllenhaal is extremely American, but everybody else but Holland is British, so I think we could squeeze them in there. I mean, no, Linsky is obviously not British. She is. Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I figured it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I always love a good like legal thriller, to be honest with you, and I love a good family dynamic. So this would probably be like great for Tyler, but I feel like they're always with like a majority of white casts. So I would love to see it like a very diverse, you know, position of power for, you know, I've always thought about this legal thriller of this, that this law firm is folding up on itself and they need to basically survive by this giant case that's filled with publicity and everything. You can talk about the media and you talk about family and everything. And so I've always thought that it would be Denzel Washington and Angela Bassett. Their children would be Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson.
Oh, no.
And the sort of uncle who's brother to Denzel Washington, who works for the, you know, the prosecutor's office, would be Samuel L. Jackson.
Nice.
And then I thought about so many other people for like all the different things and everything. Cause like at the time I thought like, wouldn't it be great if this was a couple of years ago when I've been thinking about this, like, wouldn't it have been great if like there's sort of like a big, you know, table argument? Cause don't you love like those Thanksgiving table arguments in the middle of movies or whatnot? And the grandfather would have been, or Denzel's father would have been Sidney Poitier. And you get Poitier out of retirement and be able to have that scene. Well, obviously we can't do that because Poitier is recently deceased. But I thought about it in many ways, and also to be about, you know, politicians and corruption and everything. And you could have like a, you know, it'd be obviously a commentary on race and everything too. And I thought about, okay, who would be somebody that could play a slimy politician that you sort of buy it and it could go opposite of Denzel Washington and would be totally against type. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be great to see a reunion of Tom Hanks playing an absolute sleazeball? And then I saw him do it this year and I was like, please, never again. So there's like a bevy of things, but those 5 in particular, I think if that was on a poster, Denzel Washington, Angela Bassett, Michael B. Jordan, Tessa Thompson, Samuel L. Jackson, that would get me in the door immediately, hands down.
Okay,
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Hank should do it only if he does his Colonel Tom Parker accent.
My boy.
Oscar Isaac as the like main media reporter that we follow.
That true. Oh, he could be on the opposite side. You know, he can be working for like for the government.
Mhm.
Nicole's
We're
going to
gonna
get
up it.
Oscar Isaac into
I'm gonna-
literally
Yeah,
every movie.
I
Listen-
mean,
I'm
gonna-
anything.
listen,
I mean, I'll
I
get
am
Oscar
keeping this
Isaac into
man
anything, if
booked
you know what I'm
and
saying.
busy. Okay,
Hey,
I'm
I get
keeping
it.
him
I do.
busy.
Yeah.
Also,
Saying that
though,
is a bad thing,
movie-
Josh. Don't do that. Don't do that.
That is
to
a
yourself.
movie I could not see in a theater because you broke my brain when you said Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson as siblings. So
Imagine it. I mean, they have great chemistry from the Creed
I-
movies, but imagine them like fighting and it
Yeah,
being
but that's
this.
wrong
line in the winter
because
almost sort of
everybody
thing,
would be
too.
watching them going horny, horny, horny.
Oh
No.
yeah, because
it feels a little Folgers commercial. I'm not gonna lie to
You
you.
think? Yes. Oh my God, that commercial, Nicole. Bless you. Oh,
It'd be
my
so good, though.
God.
it'd be so good. All right, moving on from the listener questions. We have a new game.
Oh fuck.
Oh boy.
Calling this game the percentage
Yay.
game. I'm going to give you a scenario,
I already hate it.
I don't
and you're
even
going
know
to
what
give me
it
the
means.
percent chance that this is going to happen. All right.
Oh.
Scale of
Uh,
0 to 100. You're going to give me the percent chance, and we will look back on this later in the year and see. If
Oh, okay. So we don't. There's no wrong or right answer yet.
No, there's no
Okay.
wrong or right answer.
I don't have to do any math.
Mm.
There's
We're good.
no. I mean, you got to give me a percent chance, but
Yeah, but I can just pick a number. I'm not trying to like.
You
divide
could, but I
anything.
mean, I will come back to these later in the year and see who was right and who was wrong.
We all know
Um,
I don't care about being wrong. I'm just not competitive.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Percent chance Killers of the Flower Moon comes out this award season. Not this year, award season.
Oh.
Nicole?
Okay, so you're saying award season, not this.
Yeah, like
not
it'll be
2022,
like
just
it'll be
award
in this
season.
Oscar season. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna say 75% chance.
Wow.
Mm.
Josh?
See, I'm actually going the opposite way. I do feel like it's going to be
Pushed.
for next year, but with a chance. So I'm going to say like 15%.
Okay. Eric? You
Uh,
remember your answer could upset a lot of people. Right.
Upset? Nobody's going to be upset.
They've been listening to this whole show.
Have they?
Waiting for
They
this.
might
The
have
listeners
tuned
have been
out by
dying to
now.
hear your percent chance.
Or
for
maybe
this.
they've been watching some interactions on Twitter with some people.
Maybe.
Something. I don't know.
Jinx, you owe me a cup now.
The percent chance that I think that Killers of the Flower Moon is going to be released for this
Award
Oscar season
Yes, correct.
is probably 25%.
I'm at 50%. I'm 50-50 on it.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
thought everyone else
All
would
right.
be lower, so I purposely
right.
took the high one.
All right. You know what? 51%.
The optimist,
I'm
yes.
51%. How about that? 51%.
Okay, whatever, Joan Crawford.
Don't cough on.
I own 51% of this company.
There you go.
Shut
Percent
the fuck
chance
up.
The Fablemans wins the TIFF Audience Award prize. Nicole Ackman.
It'll-
Ooh, this is interesting.
Y'all are all going to be at TIFF. So what are you going to
Yeah.
vote for?
Well, I guess I have to vote
No, I'm
according to whatever I say right now, don't I?
No, I'm just kidding. You can vote for whoever
Um,
you want, but just percent chance you think it's
I'll say 60%.
okay. Josh?
I'm going to go 70%.
Yeah.
I think it will definitely be in the top 3.
Mhm. Same.
That seems like a given.
Yeah, yeah, that would-
something-
It
We
feels
would
too
all
easy to say
100%
it's going
agrees.
to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah, it is going to definitely be there. I think that there's some room for something else to surprise, but I think it will have a very strong showing, and everybody will predict it to be the winner.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then Glass Onion takes it.
There you go. That's fine with me. Eric?
I think both Josh and Nicole are on the right track there. It's absolutely, I think, going to be top 3.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how we think the votes are going to kind of shake out.
Mhm.
You know, Netflix does very well here. We'll just say that.
Mhm.
Power of the Dog being top 3 in a movie
That
that
was-
people were constantly saying it's so inaccessible.
Yeah, and then it won that top
Yeah.
3 audience award. So
Exactly. Then
stupid.
it was top 3. Beale Street was top 3
Yep.
here. So things aren't always what they seem like. And then we always get like, you know, some totally outside the box thing, but it's definitely top 3. I would say percentage wise of Fableman's winning, let's say 65%.
Damn it. That's exactly what I was going to say. 65%. That's my, I'm going to stick with it. Eric and I
I'm actually a little disappointed you didn't say 69%.
Hey.
Oh, it's not that kind of movie.
Hey, Joshua. Keep
Are you
it in
sure?
This is a family show, Josh. Family show. Percent chance Top Gun Maverick stays the highest grossing film of the year. Cool.
Well, there's only really one option that it's going to have a challenge to.
The Flash, right? Black Adam?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna say 80% chance.
Yeah.
It is still selling well at theaters around me.
Yeah, it's doing really well. Climbing up those domestic boards this weekend.
Are we
And we
talking
mean with-
about domestic?
No, we're talking
worldwide?
whole enchilada.
And are we talking about within this year or?
Yeah, I
Only
mean, it's
release, not
yeah.
within this year, because a movie
Yeah.
that's released in December
Yeah.
is not going to make $600 million.
I mean, said Spider-Man, No Way Home. Anyway,
It didn't, but
no, I'm just kidding. Worldwide, it did.
Hmm?
Worldwide, it did at that time.
Mhm.
Well,
Are you
he's
talking
saying
domestically?
in-
Or are you talking domestically?
I think he's talking about just in like the rest of December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah.
talking about like in December, which is
Okay.
you're only talking about one movie here, Ryan McQuade.
Well, sneaky little question, isn't it? Josh, your percent chance.
Is it?
I do think that, to just name the movie that we're talking about, I do think Avatar
No,
is going to outgross.
we weren't
Top
talking
Gun.
about that. We were talking about Empire Light.
Yeah. I do think Avatar is going to outgross it. I mean, there's always a chance, but I really don't think it's going to be that much. I will give it a 10% chance that it will stay the number one, because I really do think Avatar is going to outgross it.
Okay. Eric.
I agree with Josh. I also think that, and that's only because Top Gun, as the box office behemoth that it became, was an absolute outlier surprise. There were no real people predicting these kinds of numbers. Avatar, I think, will. Yeah, I'm with Josh, but probably close to 25%. I would say that Top Gun could retain its title.
I think it's 75% chance that it'll stay that way. Just based off of also too like the buzz of it and thing, like Avatar, it's 10 years. It's a different landscape than it was before. You know, I know it's a big international
for
player.
Avatar. I'm just telling you right now, Ryan, people are excited for Avatar. I know you don't want to believe that.
I mean, people are excited for a lot of movies, and then it doesn't always work out.
I don't know if Avatar will get the cross generation appeal that Top Gun Maverick has had.
It'll be big internationally. Domestically,
and
though,
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
I'm worried about it domestically.
I mean, honestly, I'm not that worried about it domestically either, but I also think it will be huge internationally.
Mm.
Yeah, it will be.
But I think there's a big chance Maverick stays that way.
I know you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Not what I want. It's what I think.
Your bias is showing, Ryan.
I really do think that, like
your underwear. Pull up your pants.
All right. Okay. All right. Percent chance Florence Pugh praises Olivia Wilde during their "Don't Worry, Darling" press tour. Nicole Ackman.
Ryan.
What?
20%
chance. All right. Josh.
I'll say 50%. I think there will be like a passing mention that will be inferred as praise, but could be looked at as very shady and not really. So I'll say 50%.
Eric.
You're a horrible person, Ryan McQuade. This is a terrible question.
No, it's not. It's great.
It's not. It's terrible. Why aren't you asking the same thing about Harry Styles?
It's a fair point.
It's very misogynist to ask.
Stop it. Don't even start. Don't even start.
A lot of lovely things. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other way around, 100%.
Listen, I'm just saying, regardless of all the rumors, because I do think they've been overblown, the fact that Florence has not been posting on her social media accounts about "Don't Worry, Darling,"
or the
when
trailer.
she has been posting about other projects that she's in, hints
Says
that
a
there
lot.
is something rotten in the state of Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the rotten thing is probably her relationship with Olivia Wilde. So
Absolutely.
Listen,
If they
if
do a
my
panel, they're going to be
director-
on opposite ends of the stage.
if
I wouldn't.
and just from a honest opinion, if my director started dating my co-star
And
during the
treated-
filming of the movie, I would probably be a little miffed. Like,
they're all going to be
because
at Venice together too, which is going to be
you
like,
know that
all
you're not
eyes.
getting the same level of attention as your co-star at that point. Like, and that's not even me like critiquing Olivia Wilde. That's simply just like
a fact.
how humans work.
Yeah.
Like, so if she is annoyed, I understand where it's coming from. I don't think it's like the whole evil, like,
No.
if she directed the film thing that people are making it out to
No,
be.
there. I mean, like, there's been a ton of rumors about like just no, and she's just no. Eric, you haven't given me a percent
Rumors.
chance.
You know how I
Nice.
feel about rumors.
Oh, you love rumors.
I think she will probably say something very short
Mm.
and to the point. If it's in a,
It was a valuable experience.
yeah,
You know.
especially if it's in a, panel public kind of, Venice press conference kind
You
of
would hope.
thing. But I swear, if
She
the
doesn't.
individual press, doing junkets and interviews just completely hammers it, I'm going to be so fucking annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Which they probably will.
They will.
Yeah, they probably will.
Someone's
Shame
gonna-
on any person who does it.
Someone's
Again,
going to
if
do
they
that.
don't ask the same questions of Chris Pine
Mhm.
that they're going to ask of Florence Pugh, then fuck off.
Also,
Okay.
there are many more interesting things to ask Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still haven't given me a damn percentage.
Well, I didn't.
No.
50.
There you go. 40%. Percent chance evil truly dies tonight and Halloween ends. Nicole.
Can you repeat the question?
Percent chance evil truly dies tonight and Halloween ends. You never saw Halloween. What was that? Halloween
Kills.
which the mob in that film chants evil dies tonight. And then obviously it doesn't happen.
No,
So-
Obviously, it didn't.
they
and obviously it
chanted
didn't.
over and over. And
It was
over
like
again.
the slogan of the movie, wasn't it, Josh?
Oh my god, such a
I don't
bad
know.
movie.
Remember when Jamie Lee Curtis was going to get nominated for Best Supporting Actress for that film?
You mean the one person that thought it was going to happen?
So you're basically asking, do we think they'll actually commit to something, or will they continue to cop out?
Do you think evil will truly die?
I'm
at
gonna
that
give
night?
it a 10% chance.
I think evil meaning Michael Myers. Do you think he will truly die at the end of the film? No, 10%. Okay,
10%.
all right. Josh,
2%.
2%. All right. Eric,
0%.
Yeah.
0.
I just want the movie to talk about trauma. It's a big selling point for this final film. It's got to be in it. 5%. No way evil dies that night.
Yeah.
We will all suffer the consequences. Percent chance Michelle Yeoh is nominated for Best Actress for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Mhm.
Nicole Ackman.
Don't hurt me like this, because I want it to happen so badly.
Predict it.
You know what? I'm gonna be optimistic right now
Mhm.
because it's August, so I'm allowed to be. And I'm gonna say 65%.
Okay. Ooh, look at you. Putting big spender here. All right.
Mm.
Josh.
I wish I had that optimism, Nicole.
Mhm.
I can't. I have to be a little bit more conservative in my feelings. I'll give it like a 25% chance. I think she could win some major critics prizes that'll put her on the map, but I still think it's going to be an uphill climb.
Eric.
Wow. I'm
you
on
had to-
the
You're in
I'm
the
on
middle.
the very, very opposite end of that. I think we are still talking about Michelle Yeoh. She
do
just got her
100%,
her
Eric. Do it. Do it. Son
I
of a
was
bitch.
gonna say 100%. I think she's getting in.
I hope she does. She deserves it. No
I
doubt
think
about it.
I think she's in. She's
All
actually
right. I'm
gonna,
putting that one up on the board, time stamping it. We'll
she's
come back
gonna-
to this.
She's actually going to be my number one for August predictions.
Holy shit.
Nice.
Spoiler alert.
Well, The internet will lose their mind most likely over that. All right. I think 20%. Yeah. 20%.
I love when two of us are like towards one end and the
I'm
other.
with Josh. I'm telling you.
Like I said, I want it to happen.
I want it to happen.
Do.
It is not.
Should be in that lineup.
It's not the film, and it's not her. It's the studio. It's the campaign. It's the long haul of that movie. It's the fact that they've got a ton of movies, including The Whale, coming out. Focus could shift, and not focus A24, but their focus. You know what I mean? So
I'm surprised that it's this diverse. I thought everybody was going to be like 60%.
No, because
there's a difference between like wanting it to happen and feeling like it will happen.
Yeah,
and I feel like at this point, if I keep my expectations low, then if it doesn't happen, then it's like, okay, I expected it, and if it does, great, wonderful.
Yeah,
my best actress is sort of all over the place right now, especially because there's a few people I'm like waiting to even find out what category they're going to be in.
Yep.
Hence, as of early August, I can say I think she has a good shot.
Yeah. Also, too, I haven't seen the other actresses either yet. I haven't even seen.
Well, yeah, there's also
there's a lot of movies we haven't seen yet, and but yeah, 20%. That's where I'm at. Percent chance Amsterdam lands Razzie nominations. Nicole.
I'm trying to think about like what has gotten Razzie nominations the past few years. You know what? I'll say 50.
Okay, Josh.
So the interesting thing about this question is that I think for the most part, this movie is not going to make an impact at all. Nobody's going to be talking about it. But
here we go.
If Margot Robbie becomes a Best Actress nominee for Babylon, it absolutely will have a target on it because the Razzies hate women and they hate successful women, and they need to do everything they can to bring them down a peg. Yep. So if she does become a Best Actress nominee, even if she enters that conversation, she will get a Razzie nomination for sure.
That was my thought too.
This is why you have Josh on the show.
I'll say like 70% because Babylon will be a big player, and therefore it is very likely that she'll get a nomination for that, even though it will be completely undeserved and nobody will talk about that movie. But the Razzies have to,
Razzie.
They have to be terrible.
Razzie's gonna Razzie.
They're two organizations that need the clout. It's them and Critics' Choice. So, yeah, I'm not wrong.
No,
so, Erik.
My answer is word for word what Josh just said. Word for word.
So
exactly right.
Your percent chance is the same.
70%.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie showing up in Best or Worst Actress because of Babylon being absolutely 100%. She will take the fall for the rest of the movie being bad, even if it's not that bad. She'll still take the fall for it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go 85% because it's not just Margot Robbie. I'm thinking that could get nomination. Totally think they could nominate Taylor Swift, previous nominee.
Oh shit!
Oh yes, that.
Wait, I had forgotten that. Can I change my answer?
Oh yeah.
Yes, Nicole, you can.
Okay, yeah.
That's happening.
Honestly, I'm changing mine to 90.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen if the movie gets like a 90 on Metacritic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Once again, they hate women.
Yeah.
So...
They do.
And she's a previous
and she
nominee.
Is a woman.
She is a previous nominee for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So.
Which, God, I hate the Razzies so much.
Not undeserved, but
okay. I'd like to point out though, I don't think she's the worst thing in that movie.
No, it's her co-star.
No.
Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, it's Taylor Lautner.
Yeah. I don't see him making a comeback anytime soon. All right, percent chance we don't have any biopic / based on a real person nominees in the lead actor or actress categories. Basically, they're all original characters.
0%.
0%.
Yeah.
It never happens. So no.
Not a single nominee? Yeah, no.
In both? No. 0%. You can take that to the bank.
If we're counting Babylon.
But that's on the fence.
Those are not real people.
You said all original characters.
Yeah, but they can be inspired, but it doesn't mean that their
names aren't even the names of the people that they're inspired by.
I also personally think Austin Butler's getting him. So
the answer is 0, Ryan.
Yeah, it's 0%.
That's never going to happen.
2%
anymore.
It's milk. 2%.
Okay.
I'm just saying 2%.
Way to be
Hey,
contrarian.
I'm just saying. Oh my God, I'm out here with my 2%. All right. Percent chance.
Are we still playing this?
Yes. Percent chance a female director wins Best Director for the third year in a row.
Wow, that is a
15%.
dead silence.
That is dead
Sorry.
silence, folks. That's some dead air. We're keeping that in. Woo.
15%.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I don't have
I'm not
faith in
very
the Academy
optimistic
for
about that currently right now. I mean,
Currently.
Not with all the white male directors who have movies coming out this year.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
I'll be
We've
a
got,
little
like-
bit better. I'll say
Mm.
20, but I'm not incredibly optimistic at this point, unfortunately.
Hmm.
We really only have one
Hmm.
major female contender that we are
hoping on
expecting right
Yeah, they're
now.
expecting.
Yeah.
So did
So,
we last year,
yeah.
technically.
10%.
Technically, we did last year.
And that's
too.
high. Yeah, that's not the same.
That's
For the year before.
it's
That's not the same either
different game.
Yeah.
at all.
I'm going to say 20%, just like Josh, because I think that movie is going to be really good. And I have it in my number one spot still. So
Cool.
Certainly.
If
Listen, I
MGM
think the
can
movie's going to be
focus
good
a
too.
campaign, sure.
I don't trust the Academy.
sure.
Yeah, and also that movie is very much like I could imagine an acting and writing showcase. I would be very surprised if people looked at it as like a directorial achievement
Fair.
as well. Just having read the book, I mean, it is. I mean, we're talking about women talking. It's very much women talking is what
Yeah.
that movie and story
True.
is.
True, but also, Josh, as we know last year, the screenplay winners don't have to be good either.
No,
Okay.
but imagine all the old school, male Academy members. What's this called? Women talking? I'm not watching that. I've got a wife. Hey.
All right.
Women talking. What is this? My dinner time?
Exactly. Oh my God.
Do not corrupt Josh, Eric.
Where's 12 Angry Men?
All right. Last one. Percent chance the Golden Globes happen regularly this year, not via Twitter. They regularly happen with a televised sort of event, either live stream or regular on NBC.
And when you say live stream, do you mean live streamed like to a streaming service or like to their own website?
Either way, it's a live event.
Well, because
an event that is not a
those are
press
two different
conference.
things.
That is not a press
Well,
conference.
because the last one was only, members and it was a private event.
Yeah, it was like under a dungeon and the person on Twitter was doing a bad job.
I mean, I think you mean they did an excellent job, actually.
No, they didn't. Didn't they like? Oh yeah, well,
Andrew Garfield.
the eye of the beholder. I
Yeah.
get the
Oh.
quotes,
No,
right?
they did an excellent job.
It was.
It was
yeah.
incredibly entertaining.
It
Oh,
was.
God.
It was the
something.
best.
They
To
were
be fair,
drinking as
actually-
they were announcing. They were
Yeah.
keeping up with the tradition, I guess, of drinking while you're
So,
doing the show.
to be fair, they were making it engaging,
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know?
hell of a lot more engaging than the Oscars.
I
Eric's
don't
falling asleep.
know. I'm gonna say 40%.
Mhm. Josh,
I think I'm also going to say 40%. I still feel like there's so much money involved with putting these things on. And I've always said it's really just going to depend on whether the talent wants to be involved. Because I'm pretty sure the studios would love all that advertisement for their movies. But if the actors don't feel like putting themselves through that, then it's not going to happen. So, but I feel like there's still a chance it could, but it does also feel like there's too much resistance right now for like a full go ahead. But I don't know. Once we get through the fall festival season and the award season is like fully in swing, maybe that will change. But I feel like now there is still a lot of hesitation out there.
I just worry that talent's going to not want to be seen as the people who went back to it,
Yeah.
and there be some sort of stigma around that.
yeah, Eric.
Tell you what, if Tom Cruise says something about it, I think that'll happen. Because like if he wants something for Top Gun,
Yeah.
especially,
If they gave
he's
him,
gonna
like-
need all the help he can get for that.
If they gave him like the Cecil B. DeMille Award,
He gave his globes back.
well, he wants them back
I
now.
know. Which is why I'm saying, like, if he did say something about it on behalf of Top Gun Maverick,
That would be.
that would go a long way.
Yeah.
That is the type of thing that they need, I think, to get talent to come back.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
Eric.
So actually something that we forgot to talk about in the whole Warner Brothers Discovery thing was that before all of this happened, and it was like a month ago, they announced that the SAG Awards are not going to be on TNT anymore, which they've been for 20 plus years.
Yeah,
we didn't talk about that today.
Oh, here, but we've talked about them in the past. Yeah.
I know. I'm just thinking that we are going to potentially have a year without the SAG Awards unless somebody else picks that up.
But isn't that kind of great though? Like,
no, it is not at all.
I mean, that's kind of what started the Coda train.
It's not.
I
don't care. It's also started the Parasite train. So
yeah, I mean,
either love it or hate it or what.
Yep.
Just
Well, I mean,
okay. So with the Globes, obviously the newest news that we have on that is that they have split between their nonprofit organization, which they always were, and now have been purchased and will be a for-profit venture. That is something that actually benefits them, and I think separating the two is a good thing in the long run. But they're going to have to get out of their NBC contract or find somebody else. The one thing they have at their advantage time-wise is that Critics' Choice chose January 15th for their show, which leaves that weekend before open. That weekend before is totally open, and they have owned that weekend for a long time. So that really that surprised me, because I thought Critics' Choice, especially after their fight with them last year, that they were going to take that
early
January 8th weekend to do their show. So something tells me something might be bubbling under there. Something might be happening. But in the talk-up percentages, I still think it's very, very low. Very low, because we're at August and we don't. I think it's very low to have something that's streamed and people show up to. I feel like it's like 25%. They're going to need an entire year on top of this new purchase to establish themselves as something different than they were before. Because what did we get from the last Globes? We had like Ariana DeBose and Rachel Zegler and a few people.
MJ Rodriguez.
Acknowledged their wins. Not a lot of people.
Yeah, and even Rachel Zegler like made a statement about the Globes themselves.
Yeah. I think they're going to need a full year outside of this separation and new purchase, and just to see what their relationship with NBC would be. But put them live on Peacock Live.
Put them on the cock.
Put them on Peacock Live.
Yeah, there you go. I think this one, they had great winners last year. To be honest with you, when you go back and look at their winners list, I mean, they were the only place to award Underground Railroad from the major things too, and they got Best Picture right. So Power of the Dog won, if I'm not mistaken. So there was a ton of great wins, and that I always said, man, if we had a Globes last year and Andrew Garfield got to go up there and actually do a speech, might have been a little bit, I'm not saying that he would have beat Will Smith, but it would have been a little bit closer because, obviously the stuff with his mom and, and everything and how much it meant to him. I think he would have had an all-time close speech too. And to see like so many of those great winners that we didn't get to see too, also could have hurt some films, but you never know. I think that I do think you mentioned it. Peacock could go the Tony's route. They haven't really. They're always like the Oscars. They announce the shit way last second if they wanted to. I think it's all about perception. I think they've been away. I think a lot of changes have been made. Whether they're enough is for them to kind of put out, I guess, a poll of Hollywood or whatever. But I'm gonna give it a 55% chance of it happening because I do agree with you, Eric. That weekend's open, and it's like, what are you doing? Because if Critics' Choice wanted it, they could have taken it. Somebody else could be taking it. We don't. And also, too, the fact that the Globes could sit here and say, we have that weekend open. We're beating Critics' Choice to the punch. There's no SAG. We could be right back into the whether you want him back or not is another story. But that could be like, hey, this is a night where we can shine and be all about us, and we are the official Kickstarter, just like it always has been in the past. We've changed, but our situation in terms of where we're at in the awards race doesn't, if that makes sense. So I think at 55%.
Not that the Globes are in the same way that Critics' Choice are with like, we'd love to predict the Oscars. That's a really small window. It is. It's like the 12th to the, what is it? Oscar nomination voting begins January 12th. It ends January 17th. Critics' Choice is the 15th, obviously. So being able to be a week ahead and a few days ahead of nomination voting.
Exactly what they would want to be.
I feel like it could happen.
It feels like
the date is sitting right there.
Watch it. Watch. By the time this episode gets announced,
unwatched.
We hear about it. Right?
It's very vulnerable.
Right there. That's why I give it 55%.
Yeah.
Also,
but if it happens, it will be like a Peacock Live thing.
Also, too, got to tell you this about the Globes. That is a weird, wacky, fun show. It really is, because they're all drunk and they're, it's just everyone seems to be having a good time. It's just the organization sucks. So it would just be nice if they can get their act together, because generally it's a good show, and they are always mostly on time. They are very much on time.
You and I will be in the room where that happens at the HCA Awards next weekend.
Yes, we will. So
yes.
Well, that's the game. That's percentage game. I think we should wrap it up here. Nicole Ackman, can you tell everybody out there where they can find you and your amazing work, and give a recommendation out there to the folks so they can watch something, whether it's on HBO Max or not? It's beside the point. Television show or movie that you're obsessed with right now.
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Nicole Ackman 16. Well, if we're talking about the thing I'm obsessed with right now, it's that I'm finally watching Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Which, for anyone else who hasn't watched it yet, if you thought maybe it was too scary or something, I'm the biggest scaredy cat baby of all time, and I'm doing fine.
Because you're seeing Nope next week, right?
Yes,
okay.
Maybe. But my other recommendation is Prey, which is on Hulu. You don't honestly need to have seen the other Predator movies to get it. Did some reading on sort of the way that they portray the Comanche Nation in it, and it's really astounding the lengths that they went to. They actually had a woman who's a member of the Comanche Nation as a producer on the film, and the lengths that they went to sort of do a dignified and respectful portrayal of the Comanche is really astounding to see in a movie like that. So I highly recommend it. It's also like under 2 hours. And once again, I'm a scaredy cat baby, and I was totally fine.
All right. Josh Parham?
You can find me on Twitter at JR Parham. You can also find a lot of my work over on Next Best Picture. And I'm going to recommend something. I actually will recommend something that is on HBO Max, which is a movie that I just saw called Listomania. And this is a Ken Russell movie starring Roger Daltrey. So the same people that made Tommy. It's not as good as Tommy. Like, Tommy's a masterpiece. Not as good as that. But it is still crazy Ken Russell, who is just wild and colorful and completely anachronistic. And Richard Wagner shows up as a Nazi vampire. It's amazing. Like, it's incredible. I love Ken Russell so much. I miss him dearly. So, I don't know how much longer. I don't know how much longer some of that stuff is going to be on HBO Max. So that's why I've been trying to mine through that a little bit, and that was one I've been meaning to get to, and it's like, that's really great. I love Ken Russell, so it's another one that I would highly recommend if he is also of interest to you.
Erik?
You can find me on Twitter at awards_watch, and obviously at awardswatch.com. I'll echo Nicole and Josh's recommendations because they're both great. Mine is going to be totally out of left field.
Oh, of course it is.
and probably really unexpected. We just binged The Old Man.
From
FX.
Again, I'm not going to make a joke. I promise.
You shouldn't.
My parents have been talking about that show endlessly.
Let me tell you, especially the first episode, absolutely riveting.
Wow.
Great action. Great editing. There is a fight sequence that is cut because Jeff Bridges is 185 years old and had COVID during the shooting, that you are constantly going, wait a minute, because it's this one take.
It's a oneer.
Absolutely fantastic. He is wonderful. Aaliyah Shawkat, great. John Lithgow, amazing. They have young versions of both Lithgow and Bridges in flashbacks, which are about half of the show. Absolutely stunning casting.
Yeah.
It's a great show. It's only 7 episodes. I want more right now.
Oh, well, that's the thing with that show is I saw previews for it and I was like, is this going to be good? And no one's recommended it to me until now. So thank you, Erik, for that. I really do 100% appreciate that. And yeah, it's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu now because it is FX on Hulu.
Hello. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find me here at Awards Watch, In Session Film to Playlists, other places like that. I am going to recommend something that's also on Hulu, but it's also on FX, and that is the 4th season of What We Do in the Shadows, which is pound for pound every time. All these shows that I've been watching, like Hacks and Barry and all the stuff I've been catching up for the Emmys. And then I watched What We Do in the Shadows and I went like, come on, what am I kidding myself? There's all these other great comedies, but that's the best one on television. Consistently just makes me laugh. It's a comfort sort of show now. That whole cast should be nominated for Emmys. It's ridiculous, Erik. Like I love that show. Love that show. And where it goes and in each episode, just the best. It's one of the only things I'm actually watching now on television because it is 1 episode a week, but it is a weekly appointment. So What We Do in the Shadows, go see it on Hulu or on FX on Wednesdays, I believe. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. We might not have a show next week, or we're going to have one very, very late in the week, because Erik and I will be in Los Angeles. We'll be together. We will be at the HCA Television Awards. And so it's going to be probably maybe Monday or Tuesday or maybe even Wednesday when you hear something, if you hear anything. If not, we'll come back. We'll be back. We'll always will be with this crew or somebody different. So until then, see you all next time.